The faculty and staff procession is led by the faculty marshal, Dr. Carlo Di Clementi, the 2011 Presidential Research Professor and Professor of Psychology. He is joined by staff marshals, Dr. Connie Pearson, the 2011 recipient of the Presidential Distinguished Staff Award for Professional Staff and Assistant Director for Institutional Research, and Ms. Michelle Howell, 2011 Presidential Distinguished Staff Award recipient for non-exempt staff and Program Management Specialist for the Erickson School. The faculty and staff marshals are carrying batons that the UMBC Alumni Association gave to the university in honor of our 40th anniversary in 2006. The platform party is led by the Grand Marshal, Mr. Tim Noe, President of the Faculty Senate and Associate Professor of Visual Arts. The Grand Marshal carries the university mace, which is a symbol of presidential authority, used only on formal academic occasions. It is carried in the procession immediately before the President.
Good afternoon. This is a gorgeous day. On behalf of the faculty, staff, and administration of the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, welcome to UMBC's 2011 Convocation. Please rise for the singing of our national anthem, as led by the UMBC Camerata and Wind Ensemble under the direction of Dr. Stephen Caracciolo and Dr. Richard Spees, respectively. Gentlemen, please remove your caps or hats during the anthem. Please be seated. It is with great pleasure that I introduce Ms. C. Jill Randalls, UMBC's Assistant Vice Provost in the Office of Undergraduate Education. This office, under the leadership of Vice Provost and Dean Diane M. Lee, oversees the development and delivery of programs that enrich the undergraduate educational experience. Examples include first-year seminars, UMBC's new Summer Bridge program, the Collegiate Success Institute, best known as CSI, and Introduction to an Honors University, seminars for freshmen and transfer students. The office also developed and oversees undergraduate research initiatives, including Undergraduate Research Awards, Undergraduate Research and Creative Achievement Day, and publication of the UMBC Review, our research journal that is written, edited, and designed by our students. Please welcome Ms. Randalls to the stage.
It is indeed an honor for me to have this opportunity to welcome you to UMBC on behalf of Dean Lee. As I thought about what to share with you, it was impossible for me to disregard how your career at UMBC began. I mean, come on, an earthquake and a hurricane? All things very unexpected. However, we have been expecting you. But what we don't know exactly is what your contribution will be to this community or how we will impact your lives. What I do know after 19 years at UMBC is that you matter to us. And what you do here will matter to those with whom you are seated today and those that follow you. This is indeed a very special time in your life, and I'm quite sure you're tired of hearing that. But it is true. Not only are you about to embark on a period of self-discovery, but you are about to make that journey in a community of scholars for whom learning is a way of life. So what does it mean to be an active participant in your education? I decided to look at how education is defined by Webster as well as Wikipedia, probably your favorite research site, which I can guarantee is about to change. I was surprised to discover how limiting the definition is. They focused on how education is society's mechanism by which it deliberately transmits knowledge, skills, and values, how instructors impart learning to their students, which is not my education at all, and I don't think it will be your experience here at UMBC. It is true that there are basic tenets that are part of any discipline, but an education, from my point of view, is about using, challenging, engaging with, expanding on those tenets. Martin Buber describes this way of living as being on the narrow ridge. He said, "I wanted to express that I do not rest on the broad upland of a system that includes a series of sure statements about the absolute, but on a narrow, rocky ridge between the gulfs where there is no sureness of expressible knowledge, but the certainty of meeting what remains undisclosed." And education is about learning how to live in that place where discoveries about the world, a discipline, different cultures, yourself, and others can happen. I am reminded of this as I look at the variety of flags hanging in this room, representing the many places UMBC students and their families call home. What a rich and varied learning environment this creates for all of us. To fully appreciate the variety of human experience at UMBC means that one must be willing to step outside their comfort zone. And this is what we expect you to do during your time with us. What better place to challenge yourself by exploring a discipline about which you know very little? Participate in dialogues with your peers and with faculty and staff to learn what it is you know to be true for you. Margaret Wheatley challenges us, like Buber, to be edgewalkers. She says people who persevere walk that undulating edge between hope and fear, success and failure, praise and blame, love and anger, and scientists call this the edge of chaos. I feel like we've been standing on that now for about a week. It's the border created by the meeting of two opposing states, and possibility lives on this edge. This is important to consider because security is not what creates life. It is newness, creativity, and imagination that do, along with being present in the moment and with each other. It is my hope for you that you will make sure that your time at UMBC is characterized by an awareness of what is possible in yourself and within others. Eudora Welty says it best, "My continuing passion would be to part a curtain, that invisible shadow that falls between people, the veil of indifference to each other's presence, each other's wonder, each other's human plight. Please continue as you have started by shaking this place up in a way that makes UMBC better, stronger, and a more vibrant community. This is your time. This is your place. You are the ones for which we have been waiting. Welcome to our community." I am pleased to introduce Dr. Philip Rouse, UMBC's interim provost and senior vice president for academic affairs. Dr. Rouse is responsible for all aspects of the academic program, including instruction, research, academic support services, and enrollment. Please join me in welcoming him.
Very nice.
Thank you so much. It's my great privilege and honor to welcome you as the newest members of the scholarly community that we call our UMBC. As Benjamin Franklin once remarked, the harder I work, the more luck I seem to have. We all understand that you are here with us today because of your accomplishments that have been achieved not through luck or circumstance, but through your own hard work and the commitment of your parents and families. You are now a part of a community deeply engaged in learning and discovery. And UMBC is the environment that we have created together that nurtures that common purpose and presents you with the opportunity that you embrace today. In medieval universities, Convocation was originally called the Great Congregation, reflecting the gathering of what constituted the parliament of the university, where the powers and rights of the scholarly community were exercised and debated. It is, of course, remarkable that this communal exercise of shared rights and shared responsibilities predated what we now might call a parliament or a congress, because, of course, universities were, in fact, the crucibles and the origins of modern democracy and representative government as we know it today. Perhaps this may seem rather abstract compared to the celebration we're all enjoying today, but I feel that this is not simply a faint echo from the past, but a fundamental and perhaps dangerous idea that has guided human history for centuries and fostered within great universities such as UMBC. Unique in human society, universities are communities where learning and discovery occur simultaneously, gaining strength from each other. The faculty who are here with us today will guide your learning, but they are also engaged in creative activity, scholarship and research which advance their discipline and create new knowledge every day. As students at UMBC, you will also have the opportunity to participate in the creation of new knowledge. And if there is just one thing that I could say to you today, it is please do everything you can to take advantage of that remarkable opportunity. The alignment of learning and discovery, of course, in a university is, of course, no coincidence, but represents an expression of a belief that learning is actually an act of discovery that is driven by human curiosity and a desire to understand humanity and the natural world that surrounds us. Today, as you take out your place in our community, I would like to talk to you about one thing, which is the tremendous opportunity that lies before you. The opportunity of an exceptional education in the liberal arts and sciences here at UMBC. To meet our current and future challenges as engaged leaders and global citizens, you will need the ability to solve problems, to think critically and creatively, to listen and to understand, to communicate effectively, and to have the ability to transfer knowledge and skills to new and unexpected situations. A strong liberal arts education such as the one you will claim here at UMBC, fosters all of these abilities. Over many years of thought and discussion, our faculty has carefully constructed our curriculum to offer you a multidisciplinary preparation across the arts, humanities, natural sciences, and mathematics, together with in-depth study within major areas that will take you to the frontiers of knowledge and understanding within your chosen field of study. This combination of breadth and depth is the hallmark of a liberal education, and we are very proud of what we have created here together, and very proud that you are joining us on this journey of learning and discovery. Welcome. And now it is my great privilege to introduce to you the President of the Student Government Association, Katie Collins. Katie is a member of the a cappella group, the Stilettos, and previously served as Vice President of that group. She's majoring in psychology and English literature and plans to pursue a career in alternative medicine. Please join me in welcoming Katie to the podium.
Thank you, Dr. House. Good afternoon. I am both honored and incredibly excited to welcome you here today. My name is Katie Collins, and I'm your Student Government Association President. If the words student government make you think back to a group of students from your high school planned homecoming, you're probably not alone. As a freshman, that was the only definition of SGA that I knew. So it was a surprise to find that UMBC's SGA didn't just plan homecoming, didn't plan events at all. In fact, it did a lot more than that. Our SGA is a group of over 150 students who create opportunities for you to make your mark on this campus, to truly make UMBC your own. Student government wasn't the only thing I wasn't sure about when I first came to UMBC. Like most high school graduates, I'd planned on going straight into college. While I may have been full of ambition, my wallet was a little bit empty. What seemed like an insurmountable obstacle of finances at the time ended up becoming only a brief detour. 2 years of working, some night classes, and then I was back at UMBC's door. Navigating that financial detour seemed like a piece of cake in comparison to navigating this new community and where I fit in it. I was in a tug of war between two roles, technically a transfer student, but also a freshman, only 19 years old, but feeling like a stuffy 30-year-old after working for 2 years. Who was I supposed to be? Catherine Collins, the serious, older transfer student who buried herself in academics? Or Katie with a C, the freshman who was brave enough to take on new classes and go to events? Choosing to be Catherine not only felt a lot safer, it felt like the responsible choice. I'd worked so hard to get here. Didn't that mean that my only duty was to focus on classwork? Some of you may already know how to explore the opportunities around you that are beyond the classroom, but I certainly didn't. I saw my journey through college as straight, unwavering 4-year road towards graduation. I envisioned zipping through my first year with as many psychology classes as I could register for. As it was, my first semester consisted of only one such class, Psych 100, leaving me to fill the rest of my time with other classes. On a whim, I signed up for Environmental Science and Conservation with Dr. Sandy Parker. You'll soon hear from Miguel, who was surprised in his freshman year to find that his major classes were not what he had expected. I, too, was surprised, though in my case, I was shocked to find how much the class exceeded my expectations. I was encouraged to ask questions, to participate in discussions, to investigate the reasons behind things. For the first time, I felt like a partner in my education, rather than just a consumer. To this day, that class remains one of the best I've ever taken. Many of you will find yourself in new situations or faced with experiences you're just not as excited about. I hope that when that moment comes, you'll open yourself up to the possibilities in store. That first year changed how I saw the remaining 3. I stopped thinking of myself as a student and saw myself as more of an explorer. When opportunities arose, I stopped asking myself whether they were relevant to my degree and started saying yes. No longer did my path seem straight, strict, and unyielding. Instead, it had curves and twists, detours and offshoots, and my experiences were the better for it. The risk of auditioning for an a cappella group seemed like less of an act of bravery and more like a brilliant adventure. The questioning I had learned to do in Dr. Parker's class started expanding beyond the walls of the classroom and to the very community I was a part of. I started wondering how I could shape my campus and discovered opportunities in SGA and the Student Judicial Board that helped me to do just that. I never imagined I would be SGA president. I hardly ever imagined I would join SGA in the first place. Neither would have been possible if I hadn't taken that first step, if I hadn't said yes. It's when you explore the world around you that you not only find such valuable experiences, you find what truly lies within. I'm not supposed to be just serious Catherine, nor am I supposed to be just fun Katie with a C. My authentic self is a little bit of both, a balance, which being an involved member of this community has allowed me to embrace. Later you will hear from Colin, who will encourage you to reach out to those around you and bring them with you as you explore. I invite you to risk taking that first step. I invite you to be an explorer and take advantage of the incredible opportunities that surround you in this community. Come visit me in the SGA office, second floor of the Commons. Attend one of Miguel's soccer games, drop by Involvement Fest this Friday or Big Crazy Fun Night tonight. You will savor this time so much more if you take the risk of exploring it fully. Thank you. One of our traditions at UMBC is to invite the current Presidential Teaching Professor recipient to address new students at Convocation. The Presidential Teaching Award, honoring exemplary dedication and achievements, is given to just one faculty member each year. Today, it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Linda Dahlquist, Associate Professor of Psychology and recipient of the 2011 Presidential Teaching Award. Dr. Dahlquist joined UMBC in 1996. She's an exceptional teacher and nationally recognized researcher in pediatric psychology. Her undergraduate courses in abnormal psychology and her graduate courses in clinical psychology are both rigorous and popular, and she has mentored numerous undergraduate, master's, and doctoral students. Dr. Dahlquist is regarded as one of the department's most effective mentors, and her students regularly author peer-reviewed articles in prestigious journals and present at national conferences. Please help me in welcoming Dr. Dahlquist.
How nice to be introduced by one of my advisees, Katie. I can't wait to get to college where no one will be able to tell me what to do. Sound familiar? Well, these are the words my daughter said to me a couple of weeks ago. She too is starting college this week. And as a parent, I have to say I cringe to think about this, but my daughter is right. None of us are going to tell you what to do. As a matter of fact, you can play video games all day and all night. We don't care. You can watch SportsCenter, Family Guy, and say yes to the dress as many hours as you want. We don't care. You can do your homework at 4 in the morning or 20 minutes before class. Now, I'm not saying that's a good idea, but honestly, I don't care. We are not here to replace your parents, your siblings, your coaches, your high school counselor, all of the people who up until now have been very willing to tell you exactly what you need to do and how you should do it. And that's the beauty of going to college, and it's the challenge that you face. It is now totally up to you to decide how you are going to spend your time here at UMBC. Now, I think I might be making Dr. Rabowski a little bit nervous. I'm not trying to say that UMBC is filled with uncaring, apathetic professors. That is not the case. We care very deeply about many, many, many things. Let me just share a couple of them with you. First of all, we care about what we have studied, about our field of study. We've spent years studying the subjects that we teach here or the areas in which we do our research. We're passionate about these subjects, and we are very eager to share with you what we know about these subject areas. Secondly, we care about undergraduates. And you're probably thinking, well, yeah, of course. But actually, there are many research universities, and you may well have visited some in your college searches, where that is really not the case. Where working with undergraduates is one of those things you sort of have to do, a necessary evil, so that you have time to do the really important or fun stuff, like work with graduate students or do your own research. Well, UMBC is not one of those places. We care very much about the success of our undergraduates. We want all of you to succeed. So as you begin this first semester here at UMBC, and you're beginning to make choices about how you're going to use your time here, I'd like you to consider making a few specific choices. Number one, choose to come to class. We really do have more to offer than a few lines of text on a PowerPoint slide. Some of your richest learning experiences are going to come from the questions you hear someone else ask, the discussion that goes on in your seminars, or the stories your professors tell to illustrate a concept. Give us a good reason to learn your name. Help us get to know you. Come to our office hours. Ask questions in class. Remember that someday you may well need us to write letters of recommendation for you for graduate school or serve as your first job reference. If we can provide a firsthand, detailed description of who you are, your personal characteristics, your academic strengths, that's going to be much more useful to you than if all we can say is, you know, she seems really nice. She got an A in my class, but I don't really know her very well. Number three, choose learning opportunities beyond the classroom. UMBC has wonderful internship opportunities and wonderful research opportunities for undergraduates. You may be very surprised what you learn about yourself if you participate in one of these. A couple of years ago, I had a student who worked in my psychology lab for a semester, and at this end of the semester, he came to me and he thanked me very enthusiastically about giving him this opportunity to work in a psychology lab, because now he is certain he does not want to be a psychologist. But you know, that's okay. You know, sometimes the most important things you learn about where you want to go in the future have to do with learning first about where you don't want to go, what you don't want to do. Finally, make the choice to seek us out if you're having any difficulty. We are more than willing to help you examine your study habits, examine how you're approaching our subject matter, and see if there's something that we can help you figure out that will allow you to be more successful in our classes. So welcome to UMBC. We're eager to serve as your instructors, your advisors, your mentors, and your collaborators, however you choose to use us and involve us in your education. Thank you. I'd now like to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Miguel Calderon, who will speak about athletics, involvement, academic success, and the first-year book experience. Miguel is a student athlete and is a member of UMBC's men's varsity soccer team, which had one of its best seasons ever last year, winning the America East Conference and advancing to the second round of the NCAA tournament. He is a senior, majoring in visual arts, and has held an internship with Feats Incorporated. His plans include owning a design and marketing company in the future. Please join me in welcoming Miguel.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dahlquist, and good afternoon to everyone. I welcome you all here. My name is Miguel Calderon, and I grew up about 30 minutes from UMBC in Prince George's County. And as Dr. Dahlquist mentioned, I'm proud to be a member of UMBC's winning varsity team. As many of you know, the first-year experience, Outcasts United, is a book that demonstrates the camaraderie that soccer brought to a group of young international players. The book shows the many challenges that people faced on a day-to-day basis. But equally important, it shows how the formation and discipline of a team and the ability to express oneself in the beautiful game of soccer can unite and even in some cases, overcome outside circumstances and cultural differences. Not unlike us, these players faced many cultural challenges and interacted with other people from all across the world. I found myself able to strongly relate to Outcasts United based on my experiences with my own team. Throughout preseason my freshman year and other challenging times, I've had the support of my team to give me help whenever I needed it. I was always a studious and outgoing student. But in the months between graduating high school and beginning college, much like the players in Outcasts United, I felt awfully small and quite anxious. I remember vividly sitting at a round table at the front of the university ballroom for student orientation. Little did I know, I was sitting with some of my future best friends, teammates, and roommates. I remember how nervous I was on my first day of preseason training camp. It was hot, I wasn't close with all of my teammates, and we had our first fitness test. But having my teammates' support helped me through the tough time. Although I had to focus and work harder than I had expected, I overcame preseason with confidence and a sense of accomplishment. Still, I never imagined I would be standing here today speaking to over 1,000 people. And just as my team helped push me and support me through my first months at UMBC, and today during this new experience, I would encourage you to come out and support our team as we compete this semester. Last year, we not only had one of the best seasons in UMBC's history, winning the America East Conference and advancing to the second round of the NCAA tournament, but we also had one of the best fan rankings in the nation. Thank you to the fans, my coaches, my teammates, and brothers who are sitting up here to support me today. If you all could stand up so we can see your shining faces. Stand up, stand up, stand up. It's a group of sharp, handsome young men. With the confidence gained from successfully completing my preseason, I began to prepare for school and the social adventures that were sure to come. I remember seeing the advertisements for various Welcome Week events. One in particular caught my attention, a dance party in Flat Tuesdays. I figured it was a no-brainer. I absolutely love to dance, and it's a great place to make friends. We were tempted not to go, but my roommate and I decided to go anyways and check it out. We ended up meeting new people and having a great time. Instead of remaining in our dorms where we felt comfortable, we decided to take a chance. It is important to realize that even the social butterflies that Colin will talk about in a few moments can feel uncomfortable too. I urge you to reach out of your comfort zone, absorb the plethora of ideas and cultures available to you at UMBC. The accomplishment of preseason, coupled with the successful Welcome Week event, had taught me the importance of hard work and confidence. With a renewed sense of confidence, I began my first graphic design class. Having previously declared my major, I was a little nervous and uncertain of what the program would be like or how I would like my classes. Like Katie, I was surprised with what the class had in store for me. From the first week, I was thinking, this isn't for me. I don't like this class. I already know this. I had doubts, questions, and obvious concerns. Should I change my major? Am I studying the right thing? But I decided to stick with it. I am now a senior and absolutely love what I do. I work in freelance graphic design and can truly say that I have a passion for my field. Looking back, I have learned the importance of building a strong foundation in the basics. Interestingly enough, I still use skills that I obtained in that class. I learned through scenarios like this that these teachers sitting in front of me today actually do know what they're talking about. Actually, join me with a round of applause for the teachers. It couldn't hurt your chances for an A this semester. I strongly believe that we are all some of our experiences, and more importantly, what we learn from those experiences. I would urge you to make the best of all your opportunities while here at UMBC. Break out of your comfort zone, push your social barriers, and blossom into the person you want to be for the rest of your life. Through your accomplishments and the trials that you overcome, you will be stronger than you have ever been. Thank you, and let's have a great year. Now I am pleased to introduce Colin Wojciechowski. Colin is a student member of the USM Board of Regents. Colin is a junior with a double major in political science and media and communication studies with minors in history and public administration. He is a Sondheim Scholar, the former opinion editor of the Retriever Weekly, and has held the position of Director of SGA Office of Governmental and Community Affairs. He plans to continue his education upon graduation and seek a career in K-12 legislative policy. Please join me in welcoming Colin.
Thank you, Miguel, and good afternoon. As Miguel said, my name is Colin Wojcicki, and I am here today to bring you official greetings on behalf of the state of Maryland, which in many ways leaves me feeling a little bit confused, as I'm guessing a lot of you are. Our confusion may have different roots, with many of you confused about the new people, places, and beginnings that college brings, and me, quite frankly, confused as to why it is that I'm standing before you today. In my official capacity today, I welcome you to UMBC and bring you greetings and best wishes for a successful year from the University System of Maryland Board of Regents. I stand here before you as your sole student representative on that board, a board which governs all 12 public colleges in Maryland, including this one, a $4 billion budget, and more than 150,000 students. But when I sat exactly where you are, 2 short years ago, my situation was quite different. I arrived at UMBC a timid kid from a high school right down the road who knew how to put on a good political face, but was petrified of the outside world. Going to college thrust me right into the middle of that outside world, away from home, and not sure how I would fit in and what circle I could find to accept me. And so, unlike Miguel, who was brave enough to go out and explore campus, I built myself my own little bubble. With a roommate I had graduated high school with, I would be safe from the frightening social butterflies that occupied the Commons and loudly occupied my first North Hall in Susquehanna. I was perfectly content staying in to watch movies instead of going out to meet new people, or studying alone at my desk instead of taking advantage of the academic networks that make up the library. I was scared, and even though I was surrounded by people, I felt alone. I was alone until one day the bright and shining face of the former SGA president, Yasmin Karamian, found me and threw me a lifeline. She approached me, and by simply having a conversation, invited me into a world that I never really knew existed at UMBC: friendship. She gave me the jump start to go out and simply live, to meet people, help people, love people, and become a better person myself. Today may seem rather insignificant and unimportant in terms of the days that precede and follow it for you, but it's not, and I'm right in the middle of the proof. I remember the convocation of my freshman year like it was yesterday, mostly because of that confusion. That confusion which I was able to turn into ambition and what made me who I am today. I implore you, seize that confusion, embrace it, let it swirl up inside of you and make it your own, and then transform it into something beautiful. And so, as your regent, as the student who is here to serve you, I leave you with this call to arms. Katie invited you to go out and experience all UMBC has to offer. And Miguel urged you to reach out of your comfort zone. I'm asking you to bring someone else along with you as you do both. Be that helping hand to reach out to someone else and change their life. It can be as simple as inviting someone to lunch, or as deep meaning as meeting a lifelong friend. Look where it has brought me, and just imagine where it can take you. Thank you, and best of luck on a great year. It is now my great honor to introduce the president of UMBC, Dr. Freeman Hrabowski. Dr. Hrabowski has served as president since 1992, bringing great energy, vision, and leadership to the university. In 2008, he was named one of America's best leaders by U.S. News and World Report, and in 2009, Time magazine named him one of America's 10 best college presidents. This year, he received the prestigious Theodore Hesburgh Award for Leadership Excellence, recognized by many as the nation's highest award among college and university presidents. He has been instrumental in connecting UMBC with companies, foundations, agencies, and individuals who helped us launch and sustain such programs as Sondheim Public Affairs, Linehan Artists, Sherman Teachers, and Meyerhoff Scholar programs for high-achieving students. Dr. Hrabowski also is known for taking a personal interest in all UMBC students. Don't be surprised if he stops you while you are walking or in an elevator and asks you what grade you earned on your last exam. He is dedicated to ensuring that all students reach their goals and achieve their potential. Please join me in welcoming one of my personal mentors, our president, Dr. Freeman Hrabowski.
Good boy. You are good. You are so good. Thank you. I predict that in 2036, Colin will be the governor of Maryland, Katie will be the head of the university system of Maryland, and Miguel will be a very wealthy CEO of a company. Give them a hand right now. I am delighted to welcome all of you here today. Would you give those Woolies a hand? They are so impressive back there. And I'm going to ask our faculty and staff to stand. They don't have to be here. They're here because they do care, and that's what Dr. Dahlquist was saying. They really do care. All faculty and staff, please stand. Give them a hand, would you please? Very nice. Very nice. This is a fun day. It's been a challenging week, and students have been very positive as colleagues have worked to make this as successful for you as possible. Yesterday, I asked people in the group that Greg Simmons and I were talking with in the book session to give me some advice, and everything that I say today, students, will be on the web. So I'm going to talk from a few points and read a bit, but not for a long time. And the students had great advice. Let me give you some of it. They said that if and when you find yourself falling down or you fail, get back up. Resilience is very important. They said it's important to take the time to understand your environment and not to forget you're here to find your passion. They said get involved in the classroom and outside of the classroom. They talked about focusing on this balance between making sure you get enough time in to study and organizing yourselves, but also to get involved and to schedule activities as you work to enjoy the UMBC environment. They thought it was very important to have confidence in yourselves. When you're young and you're in a new environment, it's very easy to think, will I fit in, will I make it? Well, if you are here today, it's because you are very smart and you're going to succeed. Give yourselves a hand. You're going to do well. They suggested that you learn to be independent. It's good to love your parents and families at the same time to show your families that you're growing up. But they also said it's important to be interdependent, to learn how to believe in the need to get support from other people and to give support. They talked about knowing that you can take advantage of all the resources here. Somebody said there's strength in diversity, and there's diversity in cultures and ethnicities here in so many ways. And then there's diversity in all kinds of resources just to make sure you succeed. And then they said what every person here today has said, the provost and Ms. Randalls and Dr. Dahlquist, to get beyond your comfort zone. Don't just know people from your high school or from your county. Get to know people you've never seen before. And one that I really liked, don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Know that the environment is one where change will occur. And then they said something that I was really proud of. They said, we want to know that our faculty and staff are going to be accessible. Well, I want you to know you're at a place where faculty and staff will be there for you and you will succeed. Give yourselves one more hand for succeeding. Several years from now, you will hear me quoting from the first president of UMBC, the late now Alvin Kuhn, who said these words: if you bring to the future the same personal qualities and personal commitment you have brought to this campus as students. Good and important things will happen to each of you and to those around you, and the university will be proud to have played a part in your lives. Like those first students, you will find very soon, before you blink, you'll be sitting at commencement, you'll see people with caps and gowns on, you'll have them, and I'll be saying those same words. And then before you blink again, you'll be back here bringing your sons and daughters in 25 years. Believe me, you will. Why am I projecting so far? Well, right now, at ages, whether you are a freshman or a transfer student, now is the time when you are thinking about who you are and who you want to become. And I would argue that the way you think about yourselves now, the time you take to reflect on who you are and who you want to be, the language that you use, the values that you hold will determine who you will be in the future. To reaffirm what our provost said, in Latin, convocation means a calling together, a special time each year when the campus community gathers to welcome our new students. We're delighted that you're here at the time of our 45th anniversary as a university. A very brief history in the history of universities. Harvard is the oldest in our country in the 1600s, 1636. And yet, all of the publications are saying we've become a very fine research campus in a short amount of time. Princeton Review calls us one of the best 50 best values for excellence and affordability, and you've heard about all the rankings from the U.S. News and World Report. The one that is perhaps the most impressive, beyond being #1 up and coming, is that statement that when it comes to the faculty's commitment to undergraduate teaching, high quality teaching, that we're in the top 10 or 15 in the nation, tied last year with Stanford. Give UMBC a big hand for that. As you study history, you will see that this university was founded in the mid-60s at a time when we were in the middle of thinking about who we'd be as a country, and there was legislation for the Civil Rights Movement and the Voting Rights Movement, and then the Higher Education Act. Believe it or not, in the 60s, only 1 in every 10 Americans had a college education, 10%. Today, we're up to about 25%. Until recently, we were considered the most educated country in the world. The only group of Americans over 35, a group of human beings in the world more educated than Americans, are the Canadians. There's some Canadians in the room. I see you raising your hands, right? Slightly better educated than we are, but for all practical purposes, we've been at the top. And yet, when you look at the age group 25 to 34, we have slipped to position #7. Not because we're going backwards, but because many nations are going ahead very fast. You represent the future of the world, the future of our country. Only about half of students in many places actually graduate. Our goal is to do something very different. When many of your colleagues, and your parents were in college, the dean, and I want you to do this with me when I do it. In fact, in 1966, I was a freshman, the same year this college opened. And I was a fat little kid, loving math, really eager. And I remember the dean saying this: I want you to follow my instructions. Look at the student to your left. Look at the student to your right. And then the dean said, one of you will not graduate. I've thought about that a long time. That's a terrible thing to say to young people. Because if I'm at all insecure, I'm going to say, oh my goodness, he's talking about me. I may as well have a good part of this year because I'm going to flunk out anyway. And they do. It's a terrible thing to say. Now, this is what we say at UMBC. Look at the student to your left. Look at the student to your right. Our goal is to make sure all 3 of you graduate, and we know you will do it. Give yourselves a hand for knowing you're going to graduate. You're at an institution that has students from 150 countries. The book that you read is significant because we're in a time, at a point in our history when we're thinking again about who we are as a nation. This is a nation of immigrants. All of us came from somewhere else except Native Americans, Indians. And the fact is that yet we're challenged right now as we think about our values and whether we want children who are here from other places to get the same education as others. The book is significant because what it says is, as we think about people from different kinds of backgrounds, do we embrace them and welcome them and support them, or do we not care? I would argue that this is a country that cares. This is a university that cares. And so think about the meaning of the book, the significance of getting to know people from all over the world, and don't just smile. Get to know them as human beings, because the more you get to know them and the more you see the differences among yourselves, the more you will see how much you have in common. The common spirit of the human existence is so important. And so think about this liberal education and what it means. How many of you know what you want to major in? Let me see your hands. How many of you are not sure? How many of you think you may change your majors? Aha. I guarantee you, as the faculty will tell you, you'll get here and you'll love some things and you won't love others, and it'll be just fine. Well, the value of going to an institution that focuses on the liberal arts is that you have time. You will find that you will enjoy some things and you may not enjoy other things, but you have time. It is significant that this word is so important, liberal education. When we think about the word liberal from the Latin adjective liber, it means free. And education, a Latin verb, duco, meaning to lead. And the prefix e, which means out of. And so a liberal education really means the free act of leading out of. Another way of thinking about it is a liberal education was the education associated with free people. People who had the time to cultivate the intellect, to think about what it meant to focus on the life of the mind. And so we think about a liberal education as education for its own sake. Now you may say, well, but I'm here to get a job. I will tell you that most of the most successful people in the world who have jobs had the advantage of that liberal education. They learned how to think. They learned how to explore ideas and take them in different directions. They had the gall to disagree with people. Yesterday in our session, I think students were surprised when Greg Simmons and I were disagreeing with them on things. Well, the great thing about being in the university is you really can say what you believe. We want you to say what you really think. Because how else can you examine your values, your thoughts, if you don't say what you think? And then we believe it's possible even to agree to disagree. There's nothing wrong with agreeing to disagree. If I had one wish for America, it would be that we would learn to listen to other points of view before we were ready to jump to win the argument. Try the notion of listening to other points of view and reflecting on those experiences. Vartan Gregorian, a friend and a mentor who's former president of Brown and now is head of the Carnegie Corporation, said that if there were one course that he would recommend that every student take, it would actually be comparative religion. He said because much of what we have in terms of global strife comes as a result of differences, not realizing how much people have in common. Here is a place in this liberal environment when you can do just that. Listen to different points of view. Jim Friedman, former president of Dartmouth, said, a liberal education is the surest way to a satisfying life. I challenge you to ask questions. All of you will hear me saying over and over again, Nobel laureate I. Rabi said that when he was growing up in New York, all of his friends' parents would ask them at the end of a school day, what did you learn in school today? He said, but not my Jewish mother. My Jewish mother would say, Izzy, did you ask a good question today? And the practice of encouraging his curiosity helped him to become the thinker he was to become. I want you to ask good questions. You'll see smiles on your professors' faces when you not only engage and take notes, but when you ask good questions. And you'll also hear me talking about Beckett, one of our wonderful professors emerita, is a wonderful woman emerita, is a woman who, Angela Morgiani, who studies Beckett, Samuel Beckett, who wrote a book entitled, in which the character Malloy studies the dancing of bees. When bees are dancing, they're actually communicating with each other. And the character says this, here is something I could study all my life and never understand. And he said it with great rapture. He was absolutely fascinated because the more he studied the dancing of the bees, the more he began to understand how they were communicating. But the more he understood, the more he realized there was so much more to know. There is the essence of becoming educated. We can't give you all of what you need to know. We can simply encourage that curiosity, get you to ask the questions, teach you how to solve problems, how to learn on your own. You know, the people who graduated this past year have gone on to the best universities in the country. Our president of the student government is now in law school at Georgetown. Sonam Scholar the year before is Harvard Medical School. Another student, Harvard Law School, another student, Harvard Medical School. Others have gone to conservatories. Others have become artists and teachers. They're all over the place. The significance is that here you can get the best possible education. It is all up to you. The fact is that we want you to get engaged in this work. I recently was on a plane with a young man, and he saw I had a folder with the name UMBC on it, and he said, "Do you work at UMBC?" And I said, "I do." And we began to talk. "I do." And he said, "What do you do there?" I said, "I beg for money." And he looked at me, and finally I admitted what I did. And he said, "No way." I said, way, all right? We had great conversation, and then he said, "You know," he said, "I remember you now." And then he said, "I'm going to write you a note." And he did. And he said this: "It was a pleasure meeting you today. Suddenly, I was back in 1988, remembering life at UMBC. It reminded me how lucky I am. Lucky to have spent that time learning, not just learning facts and knowledge, but most important, learning how to think." He said, "The facts are great, but that's not what the education is really about." He said, "I graduated with a psychology major, took some English classes, took a few business economics classes, took some science," he said, "and now what am I doing? I'm a photographer." Go figure, he says. "But the skills I learned as I bounced around UMBC stretched beyond my major, and I learned skills that I use now all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I'm writing this note from Dallas, where I'm working today. Friday, I'm in Washington, D.C. He's photographer for Donald Trump. Not bad, huh? Next week, he's in Phoenix. He's a photographer for Progressive Insurance." He said, "The business I've built is beyond my dreams. That business, representing those dreams fulfilled every day, is a direct result of the education I received at UMBC." And you see his path. He had no idea. He just learned, and he learned how to think, and he got something from psychology and from business and from other areas, and there he put it together, and that's going to happen to you. You will find the same thing by getting involved in the labs and in the research experiences and going to the arts performances and going to the humanities lectures and getting a chance to hear what people have to say. We performed at the Kennedy Center this year. Give the theater department, it was a big deal. We won Las Manitas. Incredible. Incredible, absolutely incredible. It was amazing. Only 4 theater productions in the country. It was go to those productions. You're getting some of the best theater you can get, and those experiences will elevate you. You won't even realize you're on the UMBC campus, I promise you. The designs are so, they take you, it's like a leap of faith. You walk in, the stage design, and you'll be going, wow, is this on campus? And all of a sudden you see this great acting. So go to the theater productions, get into those lectures, get a chance to see how people are studying, because guess what? You're no longer children. You are young college men and women. You are fellow students of ours. The professors will tell you, none of us can say we know it all. Many times we will tell you we don't know. We will say, work with us, let's figure it out together. And that's what we want you to do. You know, amazingly here today, I think about the fact that every faculty member, every staff member is on a journey, as are you. None of us could have ever imagined being where we are today. The fact is that somehow we work to do our best, as you will, and you see what doors open. I want you to be inspired by your own story, because stories inspire. I want you, when you go and see your faculty members, I want you to ask them about themselves. Google them, learn things about them. Because the more you know about them, the more interesting the questions you can ask about their research, about how they got to UMBC, about what their college experience was like. Take the time to do that. We will not, as Dr. Dahlquist said, we will not treat you as kids. You can do whatever you want to do, but we know you're here because you really care about the experience. I want you to enjoy the studying part, the arts part, the lecturing. I want you to go to those sports events because they will also ground you out. Give all of our athletes a hand for what they do here. I'm very proud of them. Very proud of them. When Dr. Young and I are talking to seniors, the seniors who've had the best time, the ones who are really engaged, are those who got involved in internships and research and went to the sports games and went to the arts performance, and they say it was a great place. The only time I hear somebody saying there wasn't much to do would be somebody who didn't take the time to say, I am empowered. I am empowered to make this place exciting. You will decide how exciting this place will be. I want to close with a story from a student I like. Finding stories of students who've overcome. And this is the story of Matt Courson, who was on CNN this year and who walked across the stage. I asked him to give me a summary of the experience that he had that had started with a tragedy, and he wrote these words. On April 23rd, 2006, my life was forever changed. Prior to that date, I was an avid adventurer with a love of sports. He was a baseball player, and I loved all things outdoors. My mornings were filled with long runs, and I often spent my afternoons playing games of catch. I was a college student, an athlete, and the youngest son of 3 boys. I lived each and every day as if there was always going to be a tomorrow, and I had little care in the world. Nothing could happen to me. I truly thought I was invincible. Late one spring evening in 2006, I learned a very valuable lesson. Invincibility is not really a reality. On this cool night, my life took a gut-wrenching turn. That evening, he was involved in a horrendous accident on an all-terrain vehicle that shattered his spine and left him paralyzed. I was transported to the University of Arkansas Medical Sciences Hospital, where I underwent an 8-hour surgery to repair my spine. After the surgery, I remember lying in my hospital bed and asking my doctor, why can't I move? What's going on? And I'll never forget his devastating response. He told me that the injury I had sustained was impossible to recover from, and therefore I would never walk again. He asked him, by the way, well, what % chance do I have? And the doctor, to give him hope, said 1%. 1%. From that moment on, I worked tirelessly every day to get back on my feet. I was determined it would not beat me. I moved to Baltimore to do therapy at Kennedy Krieger in 2008. I enrolled in UMBC that fall. Balancing this schedule of therapy and full-time classwork was very difficult, but it made me stronger, and I was determined, more determined than ever. My progression started off with the wiggle of a toe. Dr. Bowski, do you remember when I asked you if you believed I could do it? And you know what I said to him? I was so amazed. He had such passion in his wheelchair. I said this to him, if any human being can do it, you can do it. That look in his face, it was just, did I know? I didn't know, but he had such great faith, and he was just amazing. And he said, he started off with the wiggle of a toe. Remember that, think about it. If you can't move anything but a toe, and then months later, I was able to move my leg, and then later on to raise it. And then I began to stand up bearing my own weight, and finally I got to the point where I could take a step with a walker. I'll never forget your saying that you believed in me. I've learned so much about myself. Well, I want you to know, the night before commencement, he and I were communicating, and he was so afraid because even though sometimes he could stand, he didn't have complete control. One day he could stand, the next day he'd be wobbly and he'd almost fall. And he was frightened about his parents being here, and he was to walk across. His goal was to walk across the stage and shake my hand, as he said, and to say, nothing is impossible. And when he came out, the place was completely quiet. Everybody was pulling for him, and step by step he did it. We were all transformed by the power of the human spirit to overcome. He said this, finally, I have learned so much about myself over the past few years. I've learned to always remember the curveballs that life throws our way, and that we are defined by how we respond to these struggles. I am continuing to define myself each and every day and will forever continue to work to reach my potential. I am excited to proclaim to the world that nothing is impossible, or at least try to make it that way. I will make this proclamation not with words, but just with a few simple steps. Although this is an exciting achievement, I have so much work to do. You can walk. You can move. You have the ability, young people, to do anything you want to do. one final word. Every day in America, we're up now to 5 college students die from alcohol abuse. Every day, over 1,800. Hundreds, think of all the people in this place and almost double it. Between 18 and 22, college students, they die every year from alcohol abuse. Every year, many weekends, we are forced to take people to the hospital because they've gone to sleep inebriated, and they could literally die from choking. I say it that dramatically because we want you to succeed academically, but even more important, we want you to live. And I want you to take that idea seriously. And so I challenge you, as we let you know how much we care, to watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your character. I often say your character has everything to do with who you are, not only when people can see you, but what will you do in the classroom or in the darkest hour when nobody is watching. There is your character. Thoughts become words, words become actions, actions become habits, habits become character. Watch your character, it becomes your destiny. Welcome to UMBC, the journey begins. Thank you all. Thank you. Very nice. Very nice. Thank you. All right, it's now my pleasure to introduce Dr. Nancy Young, Vice President for Student Affairs. Dr. Young and the Student Affairs staff in the residence halls, the Commons, our Career Services Center, and other offices on campus are working hard on your behalf to make this the best place possible. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Nancy Young.
Qualifications and academic preparation necessary not only to be admitted to UMBC, but to excel here. Since accepting our offer of admissions, you have attended orientation, met classmates at Playfair, perhaps even wearing a towel, the commuter conference or the transfer student network. You've shared ideas at the book discussion and participated in a variety of Welcome Week programs. These programs were designed not only to help with your transition, but to transmit the traditions, values, and high expectations you just heard our president and others discuss. Through participating in these events, you learned that UMBC is a place where we value academic excellence, a place where each of us is expected to take action to improve the community we now share. A place where members conduct themselves with integrity, and a place where all members of our diverse community are welcomed and treated with dignity and respect. You also learned that at UMBC, the key to academic and personal success is active involvement both inside and outside of the classroom. The words shared by our convocation speakers have all in some way illustrated and reinforced these values, as well as our hopes for your future. If you look to your right, you will not see the traditional Leave Your Mark banner created each year during Welcome Week. Its creation was postponed by the weather. But as the first group to start the year in a hurricane, you've already left an indelible mark on UMBC's history and have proven that you have what it takes to face the challenges and share the joys ahead. Just as we work together to brave the storm, we promise to help each of you reach your goals and remind you to reach high as you achieve them. The pin you received as you entered the rack today is a physical symbol of that promise. Shaped like the paw of True Grit, our Chesapeake Bay Retriever mascot, the pin is also a sign of your commitment to the responsibilities and expectations that you accept as a member of our community and serves always as a reminder of our shared pledge. So students, there is only one joyous thing remaining for us to do. Dr. Hrabowski, will you join me at the podium as we complete our pinning ceremony? Now students, please stand and place the pin you received as you entered the Retriever Activity Center in your hand. By accepting this Retriever pin, you pledge to make the most of your education while upholding our highest ideals. Dr. Hrabowski?
Dr. Young?
Faculty, staff, and students, our Woolies, resident staff, SGA, SEB, commuter assistants, and athletes, I have the honor of presenting to you the entering class of first-year and transfer students for fall 2011. New students, having learned of our values and expectations and having indicated your desire to join this community, please proudly place your pin on your shirt as a sign that you are now and forever a part of the extended UMBC family on campus, throughout Maryland, and around the world. Please join me in welcoming our newest members.
Very nice. Okay. Congratulations to the class entering this year. You will be the class of 2015.
Some of them.
All 16, all right?
Or 13.
We ask that everyone remain standing and invite all of you to rise while a group of talented students will now lead us in the singing of our alma mater, the Camerata. Please remain, it's considered respectful to remain standing for the singing of the alma mater. We love UMBC. Please remain standing as we process out and with the recessional, and finally come and join us for the picnic on the outside. We will cooking all night. Welcome to UMBC. Some music.
Now please rise and remain standing until the platform party and the faculty and staff have recessed.